how to disarm any narcissist. And there were these very specific methods, but the biggest method of all was to always think about what they are using to get out of you. So if I'm in an argument, is someone using fear, obligation, or guilt? And that acronym spells FOG. So am I going to get in trouble, or can I recognize when somebody is using fear, obligation, and guilt? And if someone is doing any of those things, I want to call it out in a non-confrontational way. So let's say you give me some line about, like, if you don't do this, I'm going to have to work 19 hours next week. So it's never about the hours, and it's guilt, right? Mm-hmm. I could say, Stephen, maybe you didn't mean to, but it sounded like you wanted me to feel guilty about me working next week. And I know that you're a good person. I don't think you meant it that way. So I will absolutely call out any fear, obligation, or guilt, always. But I'll call it out in a way that says, maybe you didn't mean this, but it sounded like this is what you were saying right here. And I always want to use that word where it's non-confrontational, and I want to give them an out. So in interrogation training, we always call this the golden bridge. In the art of war, they say, give your opponent a golden bridge on which they can retreat. Mm-hmm. So they can retreat across this golden bridge.
And trap them in a corner.
Yeah. So we give them an out that's beautiful. So maybe you didn't mean this. And I always want to think about, going back to that, what is the hidden feeling or fear that's behind what they're saying? They're scared of something. They're scared of losing a deal. They're scared of losing money. They're scared of looking a certain way. They're scared of what the people in the room are going to think. So where is the hidden fear in someone's argument? Anytime you're in an argument, there's a level of concealed fear. And just 30, 40 seconds, you can find that. And a lot of people teach this as a tactic, but just stopping and looking at a person after they do that in an argument is so incredibly powerful.
Just stopping and looking at them.
Yeah. So like, say you made that statement to me about, I'm going to have to work 19 hours next week. The moment that I stop, it lessens the power of that statement, because I'm not stopping as a tactic. I'm choosing to stop because I want to process what you were saying. And that helps people to do that, because it feels less awkward, as if I'm doing a tactic, I'm doing that thing, but I'm just pausing because I'm going to actually reflect on what you just said. And I'm going to use that time for just a minute. I might look away. I might, as soon as you're done talking, I might say, and I might just take a moment and say, Stephen, maybe I heard this wrong, and go right into that. So that long pause is so effective in conversation, especially when it's meaningful and it's not a tactic.
What is the most important thing we haven't talked about that we should have, especially as it relates to what most people ask you about and they're most interested in?
Well, what is one thing that no one's ever asked you on a podcast?
What is one thing no one's ever asked me?
Yeah.
People don't really ask me stuff.
Well, who are you and what is your mission?
Oh, you're doing something on me.
No, I'm not doing something unless you were doing something to me. I would love to know. And why don't you answer that, and I'll break down the hidden statements that you're going to reveal about your personality.
Okay. Who am I? I'm a podcaster. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an investor. I'm a boyfriend. And what's my mission? It's to pursue my potential and to follow my curiosity and to see what happens.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's a great answer. But you went deeply into who you are as a person. So the first thing you did is look up and to your right.
Yeah.
Then you looked up and to your left. Then up into the center. So that, when your eyes are moving in multiple directions, is called a transderivational search. So
Okay.
I'm looking in different file cabinets that are inside of my head.
Yeah.
And then you talked about some of the labels that you wore.
Yeah.
And podcaster was first, but you mentioned boyfriend. So I know what's important to you. So like the podcast, you don't say I'm a TV star, but most people would identify you as a TV star, but it wasn't important to you.
Yeah, it's not important to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could hear what's important to people.
Interesting.
And then the mission was not about other people. It was about, like, how can I make myself better? You may be doing that to enrich other people's lives, but you didn't say, I have a podcast so I can benefit 10 million. Are you about to hit 10 million?
Yeah, it's interesting because my brain, like, it was right there to say that. And then I thought, it's just not the nature of the truth. Like, the truth is, I started this in my bedroom. And I always think about the fact that when I did it for 3 years, no one was listening. So my mission when I was doing it was genuinely because I really loved it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I'm going to change the world. And it's so tempting sometimes to like add that on, like, I want to change the world. And I just I don't believe that's why most people start things and continue when no one's listening.
Yeah.
I think it's usually something more selfish. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You started something and you were passionate about the thing itself.
I enjoyed the thing. Yeah.
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 I love that. That was elicitation.
Oh, okay. What you just did then.
Well, 3. I think I did 3 layers.
Okay.
But it's very, very genuine. And a lot of people get to the subscriber thing. I think I'll hit 1 million in a week or 2, which is a huge milestone for me. I never thought I would have 1 million, but it was never important.
On your main channel? On
the behavior panel. It's me
That's
and
incredible.
3 other behavior profilers.
Ah, yes. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And
that was elicitation.
Good job. So we just record Zooms, don't edit them at all.
I've seen it. I know. I was just trying to elicit.
It's a little sloppy.
Yeah. So you were doing like a read of me. I said podcaster, I said entrepreneur, I said investor. And then I said, I do it to like, I think I said,
so your goals.
Curiosity. And then what was the other one? It was about my potential. Yeah. That's what I think about a lot. Like pursue my potential and follow my curiosity.
Yeah.
See what happens.
So potential, curiosity. What would I see there? So I'm a podcaster. I did this for passion. I want to fulfill my potential. I'm not seeing acceptance. I'm not seeing that you need approval from me to do anything. So it's about your personal level of significance. Mm-hmm. Like, do I make a difference? But not to other people. But you still want people to acknowledge that you are reaching your potential. You are doing what you say you're going to do. You're relying on your girlfriend. So we're talking about a little bit of a group, but all of what you're saying is about significance. So when I say, like, you make a tremendous difference in people's lives and you're really enriching other people, you're doing exactly what you're born to do. It hits harder than if I said, lots of people appreciate you and you're in so many great social circles and you're like the center of attention in room. Yeah. See that little
grimace?
Yeah. But other people who are like the more approval group focused people, when I say, like, I can tell like you're the center of all your groups of friends and everybody comes to you for advice. You seem like one of those people, which is an elicitation statement by itself as well. So you can tell that if I used anything that didn't fit your psychology, it feels weird.
Yeah.
And if a salesperson's doing that, they do it by accident. And they say, oh, this is a numbers game. Because I use this script that I have. I kind of follow this script pretty loosely and I close a 41% or whatever it is. In reality, if you changed how you communicate based on the sub parts of that person's psychology, which are on public display, and they're private thoughts, but they're very public. If you know how to listen to what people are saying and understand what people are saying, you can put that out and it changes how you speak. It changes how you communicate, how you close a sale, how you get somebody to do something. Everything changes the moment you're able to profile a human being and understand who they are a little bit deeper. And if you know the needs, if I know that your need is significance, I automatically know what one of your fears and some of your biggest fears are. Feeling insignificant, feeling like you could have made a difference, but you didn't make any difference. Like you didn't leave any footprint in the world. Like you didn't fulfill what you wanted to. And any need that I can identify automatically reveals some fears. And if I understand fears, I can also lead behavior that way as well.
I was thinking through the context of being like a CEO or manager of teams. Mm-hmm. This is why it's so important to know the different types of people you have in your teams. And also I used to work on phones doing telesales. And
you did?
Yes, for many years. When I was 16, I worked at Everest in Plymouth, which was windows and doors and conservatories and artificial grass. And then when I went to Manchester, when I was a little bit older for university before dropping out, I worked at Swinton Car Insurance. I worked at a bunch of places. I worked at Fusion Studios selling like photography vouchers. I did Facebook ad sales on the phone back in the day.
Wow.
Lots of telesales experience. And I was just wondering, because in those moments you call someone out of the blue, or they call you asking for car insurance, and you don't have a big window of time necessarily to figure out what kind of person they are.
Not at all.
So how do you go about?
Then you go back to the fate model. So one of the sales teams I recently trained, and I'm not on a confidentiality agreement, but one of the things when they call people up out of the blue is they pretend like their dog just knocked a drink over on their computer right as that person answers the phone. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second. And they're cleaning this up and they're explaining like, we just got this new dog. She knocked this coffee over. I'm really sorry. The person doesn't even know who they are yet. But it's so novel and interesting that they stay on the phone 70% longer just because of the spilled coffee and the person saying, I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing. Making this admission of I'm a little bit embarrassed on the phone. They stay on the phone longer because novelty captured that mammalian focus.
Interesting. And then if they're on the phone a little bit longer, you can get to know them a little bit better and understand what kind of person they are and better adjust to.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then when you're saying, I'm so sorry, this is really embarrassing, the other person, most people are going to be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
We haven't even got to know each other yet.
Is there something that you see most frequent that's deficient in sales pitches when you're training salespeople? Is there like one particular thing that's typically most deficient that they're not doing?
There's a few.
Okay.
But slowness is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Authority is lacking, and confidence in what that person is selling. And going off of a script. And this is the biggest one. Any kind of script automatically tells our brain. So like, when's the last time you get telemarketer calls to your phone every once in a while?
Once in a while, yeah.
Yeah. I do too. And I'll answer it. And the moment that it sounds like somebody going, oh, hi, Mr. Hughes, this is blank from blank company. My brain knows what a sales call sounds like and instantly checks out of the conversation. Instantaneously. Even if I didn't want to do it, my brain's already starting to shut this guy out of my life because it sounds like everything else I've ever heard. So since our brain is so good at making apps, I know, because of just knowing neuroscience, if I'm calling and I sound like a salesperson or I sound like something you've heard before, you're done. You're going to get off the phone as fast as possible. If something happens that makes you think, whoa, this is different, your brain is going to pay more attention. And I don't mean knocking a Starbucks over across your laptop. I mean, how can I make my sales calls not sound like every other call that exists?
I was victim of a phone call that was clearly listening to your work because the guy called me and said, hi, this is a sales call and you can hang up now if you're not interested. But if you are willing to hear me out, I just want 30 seconds. And the fact that they offered me the opportunity to hang up, I just, for some reason, appreciated it. And I gave them the time. And I remember I was like really busy. I was on my way to a podcast recording. And just the fact that he'd gone, you can hang up now. This, just going to be honest, this is a sales call.
Yeah, he gave you autonomy.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, what are you selling? Then he told me about some social media software or whatever. But I just thought it was really smart because you're right. Within seconds, I'm trying to figure out if this is like all the others.
Yeah.
And I guess we can do the same in our emails. In fact, the CEO and COO of my media company that I hired sent me an email. And the first line of the email, they didn't even, she's listening now, Christiana and Georgie, they didn't even like introduce themselves. They said, like straight to the point, no habituation filter. And it's interesting. It's an interesting opener line because the word habituation filter is something I talk about in my book. So they'd kind of like tickled my ego a little bit as well, I think, because it says, I've read your book.
Yeah.
And they went straight to the point. It caught me off guard. And
got
even
more focus.
Of course. Yeah. They have the job now. They work here. So, and even the subject line was like,
oh, that was their introduction email to you.
Yeah. That was the first ever email.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Because I don't think people realize this unless you've been in a situation where you're like working in recruitment, looking at thousands of emails. But when I used to really run the recruitment inbox, because I'm just obsessed with the recruitment, we have 35,000 emails in there. And I'm going through there at speed. And I'm looking for what I would call exclusionary factors and inclusionary factors. What I mean by that is factors to immediately exclude this email.
Yeah.
And factors to immediately include this email within 3 seconds.
To read later.
Yeah.
To
like star it and to read later, or just to give it another 10 seconds. And the exclusionary factors, they're all just surface things that you typically get from people who typically do a certain thing. And that's also why I think about marketing newsletters. If the newsletter looks designed, the studies show the open rate, the retention rate, the click-through rate is significantly worse if it's a beautifully designed email, because people see it as a sales email.
Yeah.
The emails you get every day that are important are not designed.
Yeah.
And so with our newsletter, the email newsletter provider was saying, oh, you can use all these templates. But then we're like, no, if we use a template, no one reads the thing, which is, again, counterintuitive. But it's the same psychology, right?
It is. Like, I've increased our open rate with emails by not capitalizing the first word of the subject line, because it looks like it's overly edited. And we've switched from, here's a list of 13 ways that we might have failed in 2013 with this ad campaign or whatever, or this marketing campaign. And I just changed the subject line to "this sucked." And it did so much better, because it looks like something a friend would send you. It looks like something you'd get from a relative or something.
Mm-hmm. And that's that habituation filter at play, just trying to phase out things that are
I like that word.
Not novel. I think I was reading studies about habituation and how we just habituate to things. And I was looking into how that happens in both what we see, but also in what we hear. Mm-hmm. So the studies were talking about, if you say a word like father, 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 eventually it just becomes a sound in your head.
Yeah.
Because your brain is taken away cognitive resource. It's no longer thinking about the meaning, and it's just hearing this sound. But then there's other words that habituate slower, like warning, 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 because those words are like emotional. And anyway, I think a lot about it in the context of content creation. Mr. Beast is the great master of beating your habituation filter, like with how he starts his videos.
Yeah.
Screaming in your face, like 500 people in that circle, £1 million.
But I think he defeats the habituation filter for a certain type of viewer. Mm-hmm. Because I see any video that looks like that, I'm off within the first second. I'm done.
Because they all look the same now.
Yeah.
That's an interesting observation.
So I think the type of viewer is very important. Because like during this video, when people are watching this conversation, you're not going to have 10 seconds of B-roll of people walking in slow motion through an airport. There's not going to be, you're not over designing stuff. And the people who listen to this show are way different than the people who are watching Mr. Beast drop a Ferrari onto a mattress and blow it up. Mm-hmm. They're very, very different. So I think the habituation filters change based on what we consume and what we appreciate.
Interesting. Because we're all doing sort of quick prejudices about everything. So
shortcuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to develop as many shortcuts as I can to save cognitive load, brain power.
At my company, Flight Studio, which is part of my bigger company, Flight Group, we're constantly looking for ways to build deeper connections with our audiences. Whether that's a new show, a product, or a project, it's why I launched the Conversation Cards. I've relied on Shopify before, who's a sponsor of today's podcast, and I'll be using them again for the next big launch, which we'll hear about soon. And I use them because of how easy it is to set up an online store that reaches all of you, no matter where you are in the world. With Shopify, the usual pain points of launching products online disappear completely. No matter the size of your business, Shopify has everything you need to make your business go to the next level and better connect with your customers all over the world. To say thank you to all of you for listening to my show, we're giving you a trial, which is just $1 a month. You can sign up by going to shopify.com/Bartlett. That's shopify.com/Bartlett, or find the link in the description below. What is the most popular thing people come to you and talk to you about and ask you that we haven't talked about today?
I think one of the most common in there is, how can I change my discipline? That's the number one thing that I get from people. How do I level up discipline on this authority checklist? And getting to a point where they're modifying their discipline changes their confidence. Because I always talk about discipline as kind of the gateway drug to everything else in authority. And it's the gateway to composure, for sure. But getting your discipline modified is one of the fastest ways to make everything else change.
And how do I fix my discipline if I'm an ill-disciplined person?
Understanding what discipline is the most critical element. And I define this differently than most people. So I define discipline as your ability to prioritize the needs of your future self ahead of your own present self. And that's it. That's all that discipline is. I'm prioritizing the needs of future me. You're trying to think of
I was thinking of two scenarios. The scenario one is I go home tonight, right? Because I go to sleep, I get to bed early. And there's this other thing I'm thinking about doing after this, which is going to the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was just, as you're saying that, I was thinking both help future me.
Yeah.
But I was like, which one is discipline?
I think they would both be discipline.
Okay.
So the moment that we start understanding that, if I could just make decisions that are prioritizing future me, then we go back to, where am I getting my dopamine from? And I want past tense me to be a source of dopamine for present tense me. Because most of us look back with regret. I shouldn't have drank that much. I shouldn't have mouthed off at the family reunion, whatever it is. I shouldn't have overslept. If I can start looking backwards with gratitude, that's the fastest way to make discipline dopamine generating. So the tricks are to start small. So like when I go to bed at night, I will pop open the little Keurig coffee thing and stick the thing in there, put a cup under there. Everything's like ready to go. So when I wake up in the morning, I just go bam, and everything's ready. I'll get my clothes out, everything kind of lined up, ready to put on for the next day. So I'm lowering the threshold of how much attention I'm spending. So I'm going to set my life up in every single way that I possibly can, as if I were a butler for future me. So when I wake up in the morning, all this stuff's set out, my laundry's laid out, my checklist for what I need to do for the day, all the stuff I'm got to get on a plane is all laid out by the back door. I can grab it and jump in the car. Everything that I could possibly do to make my future self go, oh man, that's awesome, and look backwards with gratitude, I'm going to do it. I'll take $100 bill or maybe a few $100 bills every spring or summer, and I'll stick them in a jacket pocket that I'm not going to use until the winter, and I'll forget about it. And in the winter, I'm looking, and now I become a source of dopamine. Past tense me is becoming a source of dopamine for present tense me. That forces me to look in the future, along with like printing that old me photo and putting it all over the house. But everything that I can possibly do to make myself look backwards with gratitude is what I'm going to start doing. But you have to start small. It's like just going overboard is going to be crazy. And even writing a little Post-it note to yourself and sticking it in a jacket or maybe a dress shoe that you're not going to wear for a few months, it means so much to find that. And it's from you. It's not from a loved one. You did it. So you're looking backwards with like, wow, that's amazing. So you're now getting in love and sending gratitude backwards, which automatically means that what's going forwards is concern and care. The moment I'm always looking back with gratitude, the concern is always going forward in the future. And the concern for present goes away. And I'm going to push that concern to the right, out in the future.
People struggle even with the small things, right? Like because it's funny because I watched a video last night about a lady that went to YouTube and started her like journey of weight loss and whatever. And she was I think she was 400 pounds or something.